The Illini men's basketball released their non-conference schedule, and man, it's loaded. But is it worth it?
You are Locked On Illini, your daily podcast on the Illinois Fighting Illini. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome one, welcome all to another edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you all so much for making us your first listen each and every day. I am here each and every day. My name is Sonny Verma, your host. I ask for nothing in return. If you don't mind, just hit that like button. Make sure you're subscribed to the channel. We've been growing in subscribers each and every day. I sincerely appreciate it. Football starts next week. Basketball is just a couple months away. There's going to be a boatload of content right here on Locked On Illini. So make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss a thing. Speaking of not missing a thing, if you're interested in getting basketball tickets, right now is the time to get them because the basketball team just officially announced their non-conference portion of their schedule. And it looks like a doozy. I'll read it off real quick, and then we'll kind of just go over each of the games that I think are going to ultimately matter. We've got Illinois State. It's going to be one of the exhibition matches on October 19th. I'm assuming they're going to have another exhibition match, unless maybe it's going to be one of those secret scrimmages that Brad Underwood seems to be doing a lot lately. You know, whether that's with the premier program or whether that's with the smaller program. I will say that Illinois State in an exhibition match is a pretty good start because Illinois State is potentially a team that could make it into March, into the NCAA tournament. This isn't going to be a walkover game against Illinois. Of course, it's not going to matter in the standings, but that's not the point. What I'm trying to say is I do like the fact that we're going to have all these new players that are going to be playing together for the very first time, and it's not going to be a glorified walkthrough. These players are going to have to play at a very decent level in order to beat Illinois State, and I think it's going to at least set the standard of what it's going to be like to play here in America, you know, in college basketball, especially for the new European newcomers. After that, we're going to have Jackson State on November 3rd, November 7th, Florida Gulf Coast, November 11th against Texas Tech should be interesting, November 14th, Colgate, November 19th, of course, you have Alabama, which is going to be a neutral game. It's a home game, but it's a neutral site in the United Center. November 22nd against Long Island, November 24th against UT Rio Grande Valley. November 28th, which was announced very recently, I didn't get a chance to really go through it, was UConn, which they're going to be playing in Madison Square Garden. December 6th, Tennessee in Nashville. December 22nd, Missouri, of course, in St. Louis. And then finally, December 29th, you're going to be playing Southern. A packed schedule. There's no way anyone can see that and not agree with me. I'll be honest. Once this slate came out, Locked On College Basketball actually reached out to me and said, wow, can we discuss this schedule? So I'll be on that show at some point later on this week. And it's what Brad wants to do, right? I've talked about this on this show over and over again. You know, let's highlight some of these games. Obviously, UConn, I didn't get a chance to mention over the weekend. UConn is a team that we have a lot of ghosts with. You know, everyone remembers, it was 30-0. I basically blocked it out of my mind. Dan Hurley got two more recruits just earlier on Monday. They're a well-oiled machine. I think Dan's the best coach in all of college basketball. We know that game is going to be very challenging. And the fact that it's going to be in Madison Square Garden, you know, the atmosphere is going to be crazy. We just did the same exact thing against Duke at Madison Square Garden. Hopefully, of course, this time the results aren't nearly as horrific as it was against Duke, where we had a 40-plus point blowout, which, quite honestly, was one of the most embarrassing games I have ever seen in my life. But, you know, before I move on, the fact that this is in Madison Square Garden, cool. I miss actual home-and-home games. Can we be done with the neutral site games? I get it, why Missouri is a neutral site game. But every other, can we just have like a max one per season? This year we got Alabama. This year we got UConn. Then we got Tennessee. Three of them. Wouldn't you rather see Tennessee at home in Champaign? Wouldn't you rather see, well, I guess we just did, but you know what I mean. UConn. We'll play at Stores. That's fine, but let's get a return trip down to the State Farm Center. And Alabama, I get the idea of wanting a Chicago United Center game, especially now that Illinois is good again, and you want some of the alums, me included, to be able to, make the shorter drive to the United Center for some exposure. But I don't want to do it every day, every year. I'll do it once every 3 years or something like that. I complained about this yesterday, just losing the purity of college sports. I don't think neutral sites do anything for me. I want to hear your thoughts. You guys let me know. But overall, as I mentioned, this is a challenging schedule. Off the top of my head, I believe, aren't Tennessee, Alabama, and Texas Tech Elite 8 teams from last year? Or is my memory getting kind of fuzzy? And then you're talking about the fourth team, UConn. Well, it's UConn. So, of course, they're going to be a very good basketball team. But, it's what Brad wants to do. Brad wants to sharpen iron with iron, and he thinks this strategy is the way to go. I somewhat agree with it. I understand it. You want the team to be ready for the Big Ten Gauntlet, which, should start happening in December, especially now looking at the way this schedule is kind of configured. You figure you're going to have a lot of early matchups in December. The Big Ten schedule is probably going to start in early December, and then I'm very curious to see how they schedule the whole Christmas break, because I think you might have some pretty marquee matchups there once that's announced. Obviously, the Big Ten schedule is not announced yet, so that's just something we're going to continue to wait on. But having 4 teams that went to the Elite 8 on your schedule, and by the way, you're still talking about playing a Big Ten conference, which I think is going to be arguably the best conference in the entire country next year. Since quite honestly, the 20 win streak that Brad Underwood has been able to extend for, I believe, 5-6 years now, that has to be in jeopardy. I don't know if it matters. I don't know if you guys would mind having a 19-12 season, but it is something to hang your hat on. And let's be honest, if they're able to continue the streak and make it to 20 wins once more, even the Underwood haters, of which there are plenty, and every time I talk about Brad Underwood, they'll be in the comment section. Even you have to give him some sort of credit that his consistency. Sure, it doesn't. He hasn't really been able to have the postseason success that we all want as Illini fans. But let's be honest, and this is a message to the Underwood detractors. He has essentially a lifetime deal now. If you're an Illini fan, you're with Brad Underwood for at least the foreseeable future, unless something drastic happens. And so with Brad, with his ability to make these adjustments seemingly, season by season, he seems to be locked in on this tough schedule aspect. Now, last year's team, a lot of people said wasn't a very tough team. And you definitely saw it in that Duke game where they just got punched in the face and they just kind of backed down. This year's team is more of a veteran team. And quite honestly, I think this year's team is a little bit more ready to handle the more raucous environments, not just in the Big Ten Conference. We'll talk about that on a later episode. But Madison Square Garden, playing against UConn. Last year, you played Duke in Madison Square Garden. But you also had 2 freshmen who didn't have very good games, Will Riley and Kasparis Yakijonas. Was the setting too big for them? Was the lights a little too bright? Maybe. Again, the results certainly suggested it. But now you have, hopefully, guys like Mihailo Petrovic, guys like, Tomislav Avicic is going to be a little bit older. David Mirkovic, obviously, he's been playing overseas as well against grown men. And if you know nothing about European sports, those environments are absolutely insane. You're talking about super loud, super noisy. You have items being blown off, smoke being let off. It's a completely crazed atmosphere, which I think, especially with these guys being older this particular year, I think this team is going to be better suited for the schedule this year as opposed to what the Illini squad was last year, kind of depending on youth. Sometimes, things can get overwhelming. And I certainly think that Illinois team got overwhelmed. I'm curious on your guys' thoughts. Is it worth it to have these constant, just juggernauts on your schedule in the non-conference? Or do you prefer maybe a softer non-conference schedule, maybe having a, tough game here and there, but let's win 23 games. Let's win 24 games. and see how that looks when it comes to the resume. Obviously, when it comes to getting to March Madness and the NCAA tournament, Brad Underwood seemingly does understand how these analytics work. And I don't know if he's got a guy on the staff that basically studies this, and he tells Brad, this is what, look, a loss to UConn can't hurt in any sort of way. When you lose to Alabama, it doesn't matter if you lose by 40, if you lose by 5. But just having those top-tier teams on your schedule, that's going to help your overall schedule strength. And maybe that's kind of what he's banking on. I'm not sure. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comment section. This episode is brought to you by Prize Picks, the daily fantasy platform that lets you turn your football predictions into real rewards. Preseason is already heating up, and college football isn't far behind. Whether you've got your eye on big-name quarterbacks or breakout running backs, Prize Picks makes it easy to get in the game. Who are you excited about? I just watched Caleb Williams throw all over the Buffalo Bills. I'm buying Caleb Williams stock. You let me know what you think. Prize Picks is simple to play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections. If your picks are right, you could cash in and win up to 2,000 times your money. The flex play option is a total game changer. Even when one of your picks misses, you still can double your money. Prize Picks puts their members first, so with all withdrawals being super fast, safe, and secure. Download the Prize Picks apps today and use code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after you place your first $5 lineup. That's code LOCKEDONCollege to get $50 in lineups after your first $5 play. Prize Picks, run your game. If you're trying to stay on top of your routine, whether that's workouts, long days on campus, or staying focused through back-to-back classes, hydration is where it all starts, and that's where Drip Drop comes in. Drip Drop is a doctor-developed and scientifically proven for fast hydration. It uses the perfect balance of sodium, electrolytes, and glucose to help your body absorb fluids quickly, delivering 3 times the electrolytes and half the sugar of a leading sports drink. I've tried a lot of electrolyte powders, but nothing tastes as good or works as fast as Drip Drop. I always keep a few packets in my backpack. It saved me more than once from that midday crash. Right now, Drip Drop is offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first order. Just head to dripdrop.com and use promo code LOCKEDONCollege. That's dripdrop.com, promo code Locked On College for 20% off. Stock up now before the heat hits hard. And welcome back. Next up, we're going to be talking Illini defensive line. I realize that I was supposed to go through all the position groups, but we've just had so much to cover here that I really haven't had a chance. So let's focus on the defensive line on this particular episode. If you're looking at the 2025 Illini football roster, this group might be the biggest question mark available. And at the same time, it might actually be the single best opportunity. We all know that the defensive line is where Big Ten games are won. You can't survive November without size, depth, and physicality up front. And this year, the Illini defensive line has an entirely brand new look. A lot of turnover, a lot of new faces, but also a lot of potential. So I figured let's go ahead and break it down. Let's zoom out for a second. Illinois, we know, lost a lot of production from last year's defensive line. Guys who played a lot of snaps and made plays in the run game and in the pass rush. So what did the staff do? They went into the portal. Brett Bielema and defensive coordinator Aaron Henry leaned heavily on experience and pedigree. And they brought in guys that not only have played in the Big Ten, but have played at a high level in the conference. And that's huge because the Big Ten isn't a place where you just kind of plug in undersized freshmen or lightweights and hope for the best. You need proven trench warriors. And at the same time, position coach Terrence Jameson continues to have this reputation of developing difference makers. Year after year, he takes guys that weren't necessarily the most hyped recruits and turns them into real Big Ten linemen. And that's exactly what Illinois is going to need in 2025. A mix of transfers stepping up right away and younger players being developed into rotational guys. Let's take a look at the roster itself. We'll start with James Thompson Jr., who we call the anchor. Now, of course, if you watched my show with Jeremy Warner last week, I called him my flag player, and the look that Jeremy gave, I would probably deserve that, My idea was with James, I know he's supposed to be our best defensive lineman, but he's a guy who I don't know if Illini fans understand just how important he's going to be to this football team. I think if James Thompson has a all Big Ten season, then Illinois, their ceiling gets even higher and close to those 10-win projections that some people have them. Essentially, he's 6'6", 300 pounds. Obviously, he transferred in from Wisconsin, and he looks the part of a true Big Ten defensive lineman. Thompson started 18 games for the Badgers, put up 52 tackles, 12 tackles for loss, and 5 sacks in his career there. Now, here's the key with Thompson. He's not just a body. He is an absolute leader. And I've had Ryan Herrings from Locked On Badgers be on the show when those guys committed from the Badgers. And Ryan said the same thing. I spoke to a lot of the Badgers creators out in Las Vegas, and a lot of them kept telling me, you are so privileged to be able to watch James Thompson Jr. this year. Reports out of camp say he's been dominant, but also very vocal. He's the guy setting the tone for this new look front. And when you think about the Illini defense, leadership could be everything. They lost some veterans, but Thompson has stepped in and filled that gap. If Illinois is going to have any sort of defensive identity this year, I think Thompson is going to have to be the rock in the middle of it. Right next to him, you might have Wisconsin transfer Curt Neal. Neal led all Wisconsin defensive linemen in tackles last year, which tells you a little bit about his motor. He's projected as the starting nose tackle, and in Aaron Henry's scheme, that role is critical. You've got to eat up blocks. You've got to hold your ground against double teams, and you've got to let the linebackers, guys like Rosiak and Yakis, make plays. The good thing about Neal is that he's battle-tested. He knows Big Ten football. He's not going to be shocked when Michigan tries to run power 40 times in a game. He's already done it, and that experience, I think, hopefully, is going to pay off. Now, here's where things get kind of interesting because it depends on who you listen to. I don't know who's going to be starting here, but at the 4-eye technique spot, right now it could be Pat Farrell, who looks like he's getting some first-team reps. Farrell's a multi-year guy in this program, redshirt sophomore, and he seems to understand what Illinois wants to do. But the question is, can he be consistent Big Ten starter? We haven't seen it yet, and that's one of the biggest things to watch. And then you've got Tomowa Durojai, who's had stops at Florida State and West Virginia before coming to Illinois. Clearly, the kid is talented. He's got athleticism, but the key word for him seems to be consistency. This is his 4th team in 4 years. Can he lock in, stay healthy, and be reliable down after down? If he does, he could be a very important piece to this team. And don't sleep on Jeremiah Warren, who moved from nose tackle to more reps at the 4-eye spot. He's got a great motor, and the staff really seems to like the work that he's been able to put in. I think he's going to be one of those names that Illini fans hopefully get to know more and more as the season goes on. As for rotation and depth, behind those starters, Illinois actually has intriguing names. Angelo McCollum, who is Jeremy's flag player, is a name to circle. He's got breakout potential. As a sophomore, he's disruptive. He's quick off the ball, and he's adding more power to his game. I think he's going to rotate a lot with Curtis Neal at nose tackle. And then there's Carter Hewitt, the transfer from Northern Iowa. He's bulked up. He gives Illinois a longer option inside. Not as quick as McCollum, but useful when you need size there. And then just look at what the staff has brought in when it comes to interesting young talent. Guys like Demetrius John, Gentle Hunt, Eli Conan, Cameron Brooks, Isaiah White. They're not household names yet, but they look the part, and this is a developmental pipeline you need to sustain success in the Big Ten Conference. One thing we know about the Illini defense is that it's going to be multiple. You're going to see 3-man fronts. You're going to be seeing 4-man fronts. They'll stunt, they'll blitz, they'll move guys around. And the reason they can do that is because of the versatility of these transfers. Thompson can play inside or outside. Neal can play shade or heads up. Durjai has been a hybrid before. That flexibility is what gives Aaron Henry the ability to mix looks and keep offenses guessing. So what's the upside and what are the concerns? Strengths, the Big Ten experience up at the top, even though it's not necessarily as Illini. Thompson and Neal have seen it all before. That's good size, good athleticism, and a staff that knows how to develop linemen. And frankly, the depth looks better than in recent years. The concerns, as I mentioned, continuity. This is a brand new group playing together. Chemistry matters, especially in the trenches. And if one guy's out of position, the whole front can get gashed. Injuries are another worry. If one of the transfers goes down, suddenly you're leaning very heavily on one of the unproven guys. And the pass rush is a big question mark. Who's the guy that consistently gets to the quarterback? That has to be figured out. Bottom line, the Illini defensive line in 2025, I think, could be the ultimate X factor. If this group gels, if Thompson and Neal are as good as advertised, if someone jumps up and takes over that 4-eye spot, Illinois could actually be really tough up front. That would take so much pressure off of Gabe Yakis and the linebackers and defensive backs. But if the chemistry takes too long, if injuries hit, or if the transfers don't live up to their pedigree, it could be the weak link that opponents attack. And in the Big Ten, you absolutely cannot be soft up front. For me, I, of course, choose to be cautiously optimistic. I like the pieces, I like the experience, and I trust Coach Jameson to get the group ready. It may not be dominant from week one, but by midseason, I think this line has a chance to be one of the strengths of the defense. That'll wrap it up for the defensive line preview. You let me know. Is there a certain guy that you think has breakout potential? Maybe you guys are with Jeremy when it comes to Angelo McCollum. Let me know in the chat. If you're running a business, every missed call is money left on the table. Think about the last time you needed a service. If the first person didn't answer, did you wait? Probably not. You moved on. That's why you need Open Phone, so you never miss an opportunity to connect with your customers. Open Phone is the #1 business phone system designed to streamline and scale your customer communications. Do you juggle 2 phones just to keep business and personal calls separate? Open Phone solved that instantly. Your whole team can share one number and respond to customers like a shared inbox. No more who's handling this. See why over 60,000 businesses trust Open Phone. They're offering Locked On listeners 20% off your first 6 months at openphone.com/lockedoncollege. That's openphone.com/lockedoncollege. They'll even port over your existing numbers for free. Open Phone. No missed calls, no missed customers. And welcome back. If you haven't already, make sure you've hit that like button on this particular video. I'll give you something to like. The Illini women's basketball team announced on Monday that the State Farm Center suites are sold out for the seasons. What incredible momentum by the Illini basketball team. Shauna Green, the coach of the Illini women's basketball team, who's completely turned that program around. One of the best stories in all of women's college basketball. She had this to say: "I'm extremely grateful to everybody that made it happen. Sustained success is a team effort, and our fans are absolutely critical to our success. Thank you for your investment in us on behalf of our entire program." They say that winning will bring in fans, and there's no truer statement of that than watching this. Getting news releases like this from the women's basketball team, being able to be announced that, hey, the suites are all sold out. Obviously, the season tickets are on sale. Hopefully, those are doing really, really well. I plan on purchasing myself a couple seats every single game to give out on this particular show, just like I do when it comes to the football side. So again, this is not only do you watch this show for knowledge, but you can also win tickets to your favorite Illini event. But again, just a special shout out to Shauna Green. And again, I am working on trying to be able to get more women's basketball content right here on Locked On Illini. I'm just so incredibly supportive of the program, and I want to do what I can to market them and see what kind of heights they can reach. And, women's basketball right now is a very hot basketball sport, thanks to, let's be honest, Caitlin Clark from Iowa, but she's translated that energy over to the WNBA. And right now, Illini basketball, we just have so much going for us with Shauna Green in charge that I would be a fool not to at least relay some content as often as I can about the Illini women's basketball team. So again, one more time, congratulations to Shauna Green and that coaching staff. As I was recording this, four-star Quentin Coleman announced that he's down to a final 6 schools, and Illinois is one of the 6 schools listed, along with Texas A&M, Wake Forest, Creighton, Iowa, and Texas Tech. 6'3" shooting guard and top 80 overall. I'll probably do I got to watch some tape on him first, and I'll probably do a little preview of what his skill sets look like, a little scouting report for you later on this week. But again, Illinois seems to be gaining some positive traction. We had a couple of recruits a couple weeks ago, and now it seems like the big fish seem to be targeting Illinois, and we'll see if Brad Underwood, Orlando Antigua, and Jeff Alexander are going to be able to lock any of these guys down. Also, some positive news. J.C. Davis was spotted practicing on Monday without a walking boot. Obviously, that was a bit of a concern earlier on during camp. And even though Brett seemed pretty calm in saying that he fully expected J.C. to play against Western Illinois. Now, do we need J.C. Davis to beat Western Illinois? No, but it's just nice to have your captain, one of your main guys there, right? A guy who is going to be the best player on your offensive line, and you want that continuity. You want those reps in before that big matchup week 2 against the Duke Blue Devils. That's going to just about wrap it up for this edition of Locked On Illini. Thank you all so much again for making us your first listen today. For your second listen, check out the Portal Show. Brian Smith has the latest rumors, portal entries, and signings. Be the most informed fan on the rapid changes to the college football landscape. Find the Portal on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. I'll say it again, link in the description. Join the Discord. We've got Illini fans talking all day, every day about anything and everything. Whether your focus is on college basketball, college football, the Illini, there's an audience there. If you're like me and crying about this swoon that the Chicago Cubs have been, there's an MLB channel. There's a football channel. We've got everything there for you. So there's no reason not to. Again, the link should be in the description. That's going to just about wrap it up. Again, I'll be scouting Quentin Coleman for you guys later on this week, but I'm also going to be dropping more and more of these positional previews, guys. Guess what? The season starts literally next week, and I'm giving away tickets. That reminds me, I need to figure out who's going to get these tickets. I'll probably announce that on a show later on this week. Until next time, ILL. Love you guys.